Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got our 5 best bets for college basketball here on January 1st, 2025. Yes, we are in 2025 now, so happy new year. But hey, we've got college basketball to go at or to look at here today. 5 games, obviously 5 best bets like we do daily here on the channel. And folks, if you have not yet though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for some more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. A lot of ACC today. We're not going to be doing the first game between Miami and Boston College, but I see some value in the latter games in the ACC today. Again, we'll get to those in just a few moments. And again, folks, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more daily college basketball best bets. Later today, we will have our NBA predictions that are also daily on the channel. On top of that, we will have our NFL predictions that are weekly on the channel for week 18. We have our college football playoffs predictions tomorrow, obviously, but for now, we still have our college football playoff predictions for today. Obviously, in about an hour, we'll have Arizona State taking on Texas, and the other games today, obviously, the Rose Bowl between Oregon and Ohio State. Here's the full schedule, though, for all of our college football playoffs predictions. Again, make sure to check those out when they do release. Obviously, the next one being on the 2nd for round 3 of the college football playoffs. I think we're going to need to change the prediction day for the college football championship. I think it's after the 7th, I think. I'll figure that out. Regardless, here we go. The first of our 5 best bets for college basketball today. Again, I said we're going to be doing a lot of ACC ball today. ACC games, we got Big East games, and we're going to start here with California going on the road to Pittsburgh. It's going to be the first of 2 games where we're going to talk about these new ACC schools, obviously coming in from the Pac-12, California and Stanford. I don't like these teams going on the road. I really don't. Again, Cal and Stanford have both played one ACC game this season. It was against each other. Now, Cal lost that game. Stanford was able to pick up the victory in Berkeley. Regardless, I don't like either of these teams going on the road. Guys, it's going to matter that Cal, again, is no longer playing conference games. I mean, hell, their farthest trip for a conference game prior to this year, obviously in the Pac-12, I think has to be Colorado. I think, Colorado's a longer flight than Seattle, I'm pretty sure. Pullman, maybe. I don't know. It's either Wazoo or Colorado. I believe going to Colorado's further. So again, yes, that was their furthest game would be at Colorado. And now, they're going to have to go all the way to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for a conference game. Again, this is going to take a toll on Cal. They go to South Carolina to play Clemson in their next game, and that's Stanford's opponent, which we'll get to in a minute. And for Pittsburgh, obviously, right, they're a good team. And this is going to be no walk in the park at all for California. That's why I don't think they cover. I think Pittsburgh absolutely dominates this basketball team. Pitt's lost 2 games this season. They lost to a ranked team in Wisconsin, and they lost on the road to Mississippi State. Again, they got blown out in that basketball game, but it kind of just goes to show how good the Southeastern Conference is. They are by far the best conference in college basketball, not in college football. Look at Alabama losing to Michigan yesterday in the Outback Bowl or the ReliaQuest Bowl. Regardless, Pitt's a 10-2 team. Again, losses this season to both Mississippi State and Wisconsin. They are led by Ishmael Leggett, who's averaging 17.5 points per game. Jalen Lowe averaging 17. Damian Dunn, who has only played half of their game so far this season, is averaging 11. For Dunn, though, he has not played since that Wisconsin game. I don't believe he's back for this game. Hasn't played in over a month. But again, Pitt has been fine with Leggett, with Lau taking over and really, again, scoring. Both those guys average about 35 minutes a game for this Pittsburgh Panthers team. I just don't think Cal's good. Again, I do hate on Bay Area basketball a lot. I think all these teams are pretty bad. And for California, again, losing to Stanford at home was not impressive. They're led by Stojakovic. Andrea Stojakovic, by far their best guy, averages 19 points per game. He's going to be shooting the ball a lot for them. They've got Javon Blackshear. They got Jeremiah Wilkinson. But again, Stojakovic is their guy, obviously, averaging 19 points a night. But you look at the Cal Bears, man. I mean, coming off a loss to San Diego State, I get it. SDSU's good. They played in the Bay Area Classic, I think they're calling it. They played it at the SAP Center, which is the Shark Tank in San Jose. Cal lost to San Diego State that night. Stanford lost to Oregon. They played back-to-back games, and the 2 teams in the Bay Area lost to San Diego State and Oregon, who came down for this little invitational. It kind of goes to show, again, how bad these teams are. We successfully predicted both of those games in the Bay Area Classic in San Jose. And for Cal, right, this is a team that started 6-1. They're 7-5 now. They start their year beating Cal State Bakersfield, beating Cal Poly, going on the road and getting killed at Vandy. They go on the road and beat USC, but you know how bad they can be sometimes. They beat Air Force, who's the worst team in the Mountain West. They barely get by Sacramento State. Hell, Fresno beat Sacramento State by more points than Cal did this season. They blow out Mercyhurst. They lose at Mizzou. They lose to Stanford. They lose to Cornell at home. They beat Northwestern State, and then they lose to San Diego State. California, I think, is the worst team in the ACC. I honestly think they might be. I get it, VTech's not great, Miami's not great. Again, I stayed away from Miami, Boston College. There's so many different things that could go, either way in that game. I understand why Miami's favored, but at the same time, should they be favorites on the road at Boston? I don't know. That's why I stayed away. But I can tell you one thing, California and Stanford are not touching close to the top of the ACC. And again, yeah, Stanford, they're 1-0 right now in the ACC, but their victory is Cal, and I think a lot of these teams are going to beat Cal throughout the course of the season. Trust me, Pitt's the way better basketball team. I understand they've had 2 bad games so far this season. The Mississippi State loss, and actually the Wisconsin loss wasn't horrible, at least in terms of how they played. But this is a team, again, riding a 3-game winning streak. They beat VTech in their ACC opener by 5 points on the road. They were able to beat Eastern Kentucky after that. They're coming off a victory over Sam Houston where they dropped 110 points. It's not like they're not going to beat California. Guys, again, there are going to be teams we fade a lot in conference play. California is one of them in the ACC. Obviously, Minnesota in the Big Ten, Washington in the Big Ten. We are going to be fading a lot of these squads. Get used to it. California is bad. I don't really care what the line is. It's 13.5 points. That's fine. Pitt should be able to cover this fairly easily. They are at home. They got the Mountaineers of West Virginia to come into Pittsburgh early this season, and Pitt beat them 86-62. And I think WVU would probably beat Cal. Hell, they're coming off a victory on the road in Lawrence against Kansas yesterday, right? Cal's horrible. Pitt will run right through them. SDSU beat them by 21 points. Stanford beat them by 8. Vandy beat them by 16. Pitt, an ACC game in their first ACC game this year at home, will absolutely dominate the Cal Golden Bears, and they'll cover the 13.5 points as well. Next up, we stick in the ACC. We've got 2 more ACC games, and we go to Clemson taking on Stanford. Give me Clemson minus 10.5. I think Clemson's a better team than Pittsburgh. I don't think that's too hot of a take. Their losses this year are on the road against a very good South Carolina Gamecocks team. Losing against Memphis, it is what it is, and then losing on the road at Boise. I think it was at a neutral site. Did they go to Boise? They did go to Boise and lose. But look at the victories Clemson has this season. Obviously, by far the most impressive one was the win at home against Kentucky, who was ranked 4th at the time. They went on the road to beat Miami in their ACC opener. How impressive is that? I don't know. But I mean, Clemson is a 2-0 team in the ACC this season, most recently coming off a victory on the 21st of December against the Demon Deacons of Wake Forest. 73-62 was the final. They have 3 losses this season. 2 of them are in overtime. The South Carolina game with Clemson was one of the best games I've watched this entire season. The Memphis game, it is what it is. They lose it in OT. But Clemson has put together a somewhat impressive resume. They beat San Francisco. They beat Penn State. They beat Kentucky. They went on the road to Miami and won. They hosted Wake Forest and beat them as well. And obviously, again, Clemson is going to be led by Ian Shefflin, who does so much work down low for this team. Obviously, averaging 12 rebounds a game and 14 points. But obviously, you can tell the impact that Shefflin has. He is the leader on this team. And you also have Chase Hunter, who it feels like hits every single shot presented at him beyond the arc. I mean, Chase Hunter is a sharpshooter for them. And obviously, Shefflin is a monster down low as well. You have to mention Victor Locken as well, who averages 11.5 points. This is a good Clemson team, and I'd pick Clemson to probably beat Pitt. I understand why the line, though, for their game against Stanford is where it is. We're getting minus 10.5 for the Clemson Tigers. I get it. Stanford is better than California. Now, I don't think the Cardinal are all that great, but their wins this season, I mean, what are their most impressive victories? Cal on the road, I would say, is their most impressive win. Santa Clara on the road. But outside of the state of California, what has Stanford done this season? I mean, seriously, they haven't won a game outside the state of California yet, I think. Yeah, because they played Grand Canyon in a neutral site, lost. This is a big factor for Stanford. Again, they're good in the state of California, but now they got to go cross country to South Carolina. Then they play Pitt on the 4th, just like how Cal is going to play Clemson on the 4th. I just don't think it's going to go too well for Stanford in the ACC, especially on the road. Maybe at home, but I don't know. Again, I don't know what type of home court advantage Stanford is going to have. I'm going to try to get to a Stanford ACC game this year, but I mean, the Norfolk State game I went to earlier this year, there was literally nobody there. It was dead silent. It was like I was attending a funeral. It was bad. I'm taking Clemson to absolutely dominate Stanford. I really think that happens. Stanford's not that good. Clemson's coming off an 11-point victory over the Demon Deacons. They beat Miami by 10. I think they should be able to run away with this game here against the Stanford Cardinal. A Stanford team that is just, again, they are all Maxime Reynaud, and I do think that Ian Shefflin matches up fairly well against Reynaud. That's the matchup to watch in this game. You're watching this game for Reynaud versus Shefflin. By far, again, the 2 best, I wouldn't say, Hunter's pretty damn good for Clemson, so I can't say by far the best guy on both teams. But again, it's Shefflin and Hunter, obviously, from Clemson, and then it's Raynaud, and that's about it for the Stanford Cardinal. We'll see how Ian Shefflin plays against Maxime Raynaud, but if Shefflin can just take away somewhat of what Raynaud does, the Cardinal are screwed. Then you're going to have to rely on guys like Jalen Blakes, Oziah Sellers, Ryan Arguwal, Benny Geeler. Like, these guys are not, Chisholm Akpara. These guys are not great. Okay, trust me, I've seen Stanford quite a bit this season. I watch, again, Bay Area basketball quite a bit because I live in the area. But Stanford is just not that great of a team. If you can take away Raynaud, then their entire team just kind of falls apart. Okay, and that's, there's Grand Canyon was still able to beat Stanford, where Raynaud put up 29 points and 11 boards. But if you can just limit what he does, Clemson should be fine. And it's really, again, how is everyone around Maxime Raynaud going to play? Because if they don't all show up, they don't stand a chance against the Clemson Tigers in this ACC game. Give me Clemson to hand Stanford their first ACC loss, and I do think they cover the 10.5 points as well. We stick in the ACC for North Carolina on the road at the KFC Yum Center against the Louisville Cardinals. Give me North Carolina on the road. Yes, we are fading a home team now, and I've been big on North Carolina this entire season. We're going to stick with it, okay? All right, we've been picking North Carolina time in and time out. It finally paid off in their last game where they beat UCLA at Madison Square Garden. They came from behind, a huge deficit they cut, ended up winning the game by 2 points. We are taking the Tar Heels. Again, I get it. They're an 8-5 team this season. But when RJ Davis is at his best, North Carolina's solid. They really are. Louisville, I don't know. They're an odd team, 8-5 this season. Their losses, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Duke, Ole Miss, Kentucky. I mean, that's 4 SEC schools, and then Duke are their losses this season. And for the Tar Heels, right, a loss to Kansas, Auburn, Michigan State, Bama, Florida. I mean, those are real juggernauts. Both of these schools are losing to. I do think North Carolina is the better basketball team. I get it. The game is in Louisville, Kentucky for this one. But I don't know. Again, I've played Louisville a couple times this season, and the times we have, Chucky Hepburn really hasn't, really shown up. There have been, again, Chucky Hepburn's had his games this season. The Kentucky game, he was big. The WVU game, they won in the neutral site. The neutral site went over West Virginia, where Hepburn drops 32. He was great, obviously. But there are games where Chucky Hepburn completely just can't get it going. And then it will be a big night at Terrence Edwards. But if both Edwards and Hepburn can get going, okay, that's when Louisville is at its best. But Louisville is 1-1 so far in ACC play, obviously losing to Duke earlier this season and then going on the road to Tallahassee and beating Florida State. Beating Florida State is not that hard to do. I think they're better than the likes of California, obviously, but I mean, FSU's a team that's lost, they lost to NC State earlier this year. They lost to LSU. Again, I know NC State at their best can be really good, obviously. Final Four last year, not the same Wolfpack team this year in Raleigh, but again, that's not a bad loss. I just think North Carolina is better than Louisville. I think North Carolina at their best is better than Louisville at its best. Again, it's going to take a big night out of RJ Davis, but I feel like every time we pick North Carolina, it's going to take a big night out of RJ Davis, right? RJ Davis is going to need to come through. We're going to need Seth Trimble and Ian Jackson to come through as well. Hell, Ian Jackson, excuse me, mixed up Trimble and Jackson. But Ian Jackson had a huge night, back-to-back huge games for North Carolina. 26 in the victory. I get it's the Campbell Camels, but still 26 points in the victory over Campbell, 24 points in the victory over UCLA, and the come-from-behind victory for the Tar Heels. And I think they're able to capitalize here on the Louisville Cardinals, and I think they're able to pick up the victory. Again, both teams are 8-5 in this one. We're getting North Carolina at plus money, plus 1.5, plus 100, I think. I think we're getting plus 100, or is it minus? It's minus 105. Pretty close to even, though. Pretty close to plus money. We're going to take the Tar Heels in this spot. I really like them here. Again, yesterday we picked 3 straight Mountain West games. We swept the Mountain West. We're trying to sweep the ACC here. I think we're going to do it. Give me the North Carolina Tar Heels to beat Louisville on the road. They'll win and cover the 1.5 points, obviously, as well. And yesterday, speaking of our sweep of the Mountain West, shout out to Fresno State. A last second with 2 seconds to go, tip-in shot to cover the 14.5 points. I was there. Maybe you can hear me on the broadcast saying, yes, we saved the spread plus 14.5. Shout out to Fresno State losing only 103-89 yesterday against the New Mexico Lobos. Okay, let's move on now to some non-ACC ball. We go now to the Big East, where we have got the Butler Bulldogs taking on Villanova. Give me Nova. We're going to the Hinkle think that's how you say it. Yeah, the Hinkle Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana. I think Butler is absolutely horrible. I don't care the game's on the road for Villanova. They better win this basketball game. Butler's not good, guys. Butler has not won a game since the East Illinois victory. That was December 3rd. We're coming up on almost an entire month where the Butler Bulldogs have not won a basketball game. Again, since beating East Illinois. And this was a Butler team, by the way, at one point that was 7-1. They only lost Austin, PA, but still they had a victory over Mississippi State. They beat Northwestern. They beat Southern Methodist out the ACC. And what do they do since? After beating East Illinois, they lose to Houston on the road. Expected. They come back home, lose to the Bison of North Dakota State. They lose to Wisconsin. They lose to Marquette. They lose to UConn. I get it. Butler's been playing good teams. But man, a month full of losing basketball has to add up. And now you get Villanova? I'm taking the Wildcats. I'm taking Villanova in this game, and I get it. Nova has not been all that impressive this year either. This is an 8-5 team, and you know we can talk about how this team is literally just Eric Dixon, averaging 26 points a night. Every single game that Villanova has played, other than their first game of the year, Eric Dixon has led them in points. It's crazy. He's dropped 38 was his high in the 1-point loss against the Maryland Terrapins. But Dixon, again, puts up crazy numbers every single night for Nova. I know what you're thinking. Oh, Villanova, this is a team that lost to Columbia earlier this season. I know, they lost to Virginia. They lost to St. Joe's. Still, we're going to fade Butler, who's just by far the worst team. The lesser team in this equation. Okay, I get it. Nova's 8-5, but what have they done recently? After starting the year 3-4, they beat Rider, they beat Cincinnati, which is a good victory. I get it. K-State just beat them, but still a good win for Nova. They beat Temple, they beat FDU, they beat Seton Hall, but then they just lost to Creighton. All right, again, Dixon puts up 27 points. He's literally doing everything to try to keep Nova in these games. Losing again to Creighton is not that big of a deal. I get it. The Blue Jays might not be who we thought they were. I don't know. It's weird. They lost to Georgetown, got blown out in D.C. Odd. Speaking of DC, the George Washington Revolutionaries. Oh my goodness, yesterday that was horrible. Oh man, I mean this team is down like 10 at halftime. They come storming out in the second half. They go up by about 9 and they end up losing the basketball game. Oh my goodness, the Revolutionaries of George Washington making damn Richmond look good. Oh, we cannot. I don't know, man. The A10 really confuses me. It does. I don't know. And I've said it before, I don't think Big East basketball is the best at times. I really think, again, so many of these teams just go through straight shooting slumps throughout the entire game. I know what you're gonna say. Oh, this is all college basketball. I get that. I just feel like some Big East games just aren't that fun to watch. I don't know, but Eric Dixon's fun to watch for Villanova, and he's a guy we can rely on to score, attack the hoop, and be pretty dominant down low. I'm taking Villanova to win this basketball game, and I don't think it's particularly close. Guys, again, Butler hasn't won a game since December 3rd. This team has struggled mightily recently, and they're going to all of a sudden, remember how to win in the Big East against Nova. Guys, I don't see it. Give me the Villanova Wildcats to come through. They're going to win this basketball game, and they are going to cover. What are we getting? We're getting 2.5 points to sit on the road. Yeah, this is all Villanova. We're all over it. Give me the Wildcats to beat Butler, -2.5, -140. I get the games in Indianapolis, but still, give me the Villanova Wildcats to beat Butler and cover the spread as well. Let's go into our final game of the video. The name value in these teams might not be, they're like Clemson, like UNC, like Nova, but there's value here. It's the late night game for us, 5 p.m. Valpo taking on Missouri State. I get it, again, tomorrow's a big college football day, but if you're getting bored of Georgia, Notre Dame, because I think Notre Dame will probably roll them, maybe we look at Valpo and Missouri State. I think Missouri State should win this basketball game. Guys, Valpo's miracle run comes to an end. And I know they're coming off a loss on the road to Bradley, but if you watched their game at Kalamazoo, Michigan against the West Michigan Broncos, and I've extensively gone over that game here on the channel, it's ridiculous. Valpo has gotten very lucky, okay? And sure, they've got great shooting where they had their 29-4 run to close the game over West Michigan. I get that, but that's not sustainable. Falling behind by that much and continuing to win, especially in conference play here in the Missouri Valley. They are an 0-2 team so far in the Missouri Valley, losing their first game in conference only by 6 points to Drake, who's been a great team all season long, and then their last game obviously on the road at Bradley, losing 81-75. And I get it, Valpo's 0-2 in the MVC, and their 2 losses are to, again, the 12-0 Drake Bulldogs, and then Bradley, who's 11-2, potentially the 2 best teams in the Missouri Valley. If Northern Iowa maybe has something to say about that, I don't know. Belmont, I don't trust Belmont. But Northern Iowa isn't horrible. Just saying. The rest of the Missouri Valley, though, I mean, my goodness. Southern Illinois, Illinois State, not horrible. Evansville, horrible. Am I blanking? Who did Evansville beat? It's Missouri State. Yeah, that's a great segue. I'll be honest, I forgot Missouri State lost to Evansville. Okay, guys, I've never done this. We're changing the prediction, guys. Just hold on. This is. We're just moving away from this game. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of forgot Missouri State lost to Evansville. Losing to Evansville doesn't mean you're banned because we didn't pick that game, but that means we're not touching this one. So instead, we're sticking with the Missouri Valley. Okay, Belmont versus UNI. Okay, this is a better game. I just forgot Missouri State lost to Evansville. That's my fault for putting that in the video, but again, I'll be fully transparent and just leave that in. We're taking UNI to beat Belmont. This is another game I was looking at, and now again, we'll just do it. UNI's at home. They play really good defense. They should be able to really limit what the Belmont Bruins do. Belmont's played good ball this season, but they are coming off back-to-back losses, right? We took Irvine to go to Belmont and win. The Anteaters beat them 92-84, and then Belmont's coming off a really bad performance on the road against Drake. They lost 65-46. We're just going to try to, keep on burying Belmont by picking Northern Iowa. Again, this was a Belmont team that started the season pretty hot. Don't forget their losses, though. Furman, Loyola Marymount, They strung together a bunch of wins, but then really, look at the wins. Tulane, okay. Gardner-Webb, Illinois State on the road, Middle Tennessee by 3 points. The Richmond Spiders, who we know are horrible, by 7 points. It's not all that impressive. It's really not. Northern Iowa is the better basketball team. UNI's losses this season, Irvine, Wichita State, North Texas, St. Bonaventure, Wazoo. It's not horrible, right? And their wins, I think, are, arguably more impressive. I know they haven't beaten many great teams either, but I mean, Northern Illinois, Southern Illinois, Montana, Montana can be good sometimes. West Illinois, the Leathernecks sometimes have nights, sometimes don't. I don't know. They're very inconsistent. But I mean, I think Northern Iowa is just the better basketball team. They play really good defense. That's what Northern Iowa's been doing all year long, and I think they should be able to shut down Belmont here. For the Bruins, again, they're led by Jonathan Pierre, averaging 12.5 points a game. Isaiah Walker's averaging 12. Tyler Lundblade averaging 12. And for UNI, it's going to be Jacob Hudson, their center, averaging 14 points a game, leading them, of course, nightly. And then there's Titan Anderson as well. We've talked about multiple times this season as well. Really good offensive player who can score as well, averaging 13.5 points per game. I think UNI is just the better team here. And again, the game is in Iowa as well. Belmont on the road, they just looked horrible in their first road game in the Missouri Valley this year. Again, getting blown out by 20 points against Drake. And I get it, Drake's great and they're undefeated. But what I was mentioning earlier when we were talking about, the Valpo Missouri State game, which by the way, I just completely stay away from now. The original pick was Missouri State, but I'm not touching it. This game, again, we look at the Missouri Valley. Again, Drake, Bradley, say probably the two better teams. I think Drake's the best. And then again, the only other team I consider putting in that elite category right now in the Missouri Valley is Northern Iowa. And I did mention earlier, there's Belmont too. But no, I definitely take UNI over Belmont. That's exactly what we're doing in this basketball game, considering, again, Belmont's losses this season. LMU, Furman, UCI, who's good. I get it. UCI's great, and Drake's really good too. But still, back-to-back losses. Now you got to go back on the road as well. You're a 1-1 team in conference. You beat Illinois State in your first game, who is not that great, I don't think. Again, they're 8-5. I just don't think Illinois State's all that good. They beat them by 2 points, scored 99 points. I get it. I just think UNI is the better basketball team. Give me the Panthers at home. I like the University of Northern Iowa to win this basketball game, and I think, again, with this game being in Iowa, I think they'll be able to cover the 5.5 points as well. Give me the Panthers at home to win and cover against the Belmont Bruins. So, folks, thank y'all for watching our 5 best bets for college basketball here on January 1st. So make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more daily college basketball best bets here on the channel. Make sure to join us for our NBA predictions coming up in about an hour. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.